Stand outside tonight. Watch the stars for 4 hours. They wheel across the sky, east to west, perfect arcs, like the whole dome of heaven is rotating around you. What's moving? The stars. You. The ground beneath your feet. All of it? Here's the sharper question. If the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, why don't you feel it? Why don't the clouds get left behind? Why doesn't the air? Everyone says everything moves together, but that's just saying words. That's not explaining anything. The real answer requires you to abandon what you think moving means. The stars aren't moving at all, neither are you. What's moving is, well, let's start with the obvious answer. The one that makes perfect sense. The stars orbit the Earth. Of course they do. That's what we see. The sun rises in the east, crosses the sky, sets in the west. The moon does the same. The stars wheel around Polaris, the North Star, in perfect circles through the night. For thousands of years, this was the answer. The heavens rotate. The Earth sits still at the center. Simple. Elegant. Wrong. Except watch what happens when you actually measure the motion carefully. Track Mars against the background stars over several months. Most nights, Mars drifts steadily eastward relative to the fixed stars, same direction as the sun and moon. Then suddenly one night it stops, pauses, and then goes backward, moves west for several weeks, then stops again, then resumes its forward motion eastward. This retrograde motion, this backward loop, drove the ancient astronomers absolutely insane. They couldn't explain it. If everything simply orbits the Earth in circles, why does Mars occasionally reverse direction? Claudius Ptolemy, around 150 AD, came up with a solution: epicycles. Mars doesn't travel in a simple circle around Earth. Mars travels in a circle, and the center of that circle travels in a bigger circle around Earth. Circles on circles. You can make it work. You can predict where Mars will appear in the sky. But you need more epicycles. For all the planets, Ptolemy eventually needed over 80 circles, wheels within wheels within wheels, all rotating at different speeds. Here's what bothered me about this. Nature doesn't do complicated. When you see something that requires 80 interlocking circles to explain, you should suspect you're thinking about it wrong. So I looked at what Nicholas Copernicus had proposed, published just before his death in 1543. What if the Earth orbits the Sun, not the other way around? Suddenly, the retrograde motion makes perfect sense. It's a perspective illusion, like when you're passing a slower car on the highway. For a moment, relative to the distant background, the slower car appears to be going backward. Earth orbits the Sun faster than Mars does. When Earth catches up and passes Mars, Mars appears to reverse against the distant background stars. That's it. No epicycles, just two planets orbiting at different speeds, and we're on one of them watching the other. All those circles vanish. You just have planets traveling around the sun in simple paths. But everyone said, impossible. If the Earth is spinning and orbiting, we're moving incredibly fast. We'd feel it. We'd fly off the surface. The clouds would get left behind as the ground rushed beneath them. Birds couldn't fly west. They'd be fighting 1,000-mile-per-hour wind. Wrong question. Better question, what does moving mean? Go below deck on a smoothly sailing ship. Close the portholes so you can't see outside. Now drop a ball. It falls straight down to the floor, directly beneath your hand. Pour wine from a bottle into a cup. The wine streams straight down into the cup. It doesn't arc sideways, jumps straight up. You land in exactly the same spot you left. You cannot tell by any mechanical experiment whether the ship is moving or sitting docked at the harbor. Not by dropping things, not by pouring liquids, not by jumping, not by anything. Why? Because you, the air in the cabin, the ball, the wine, the floorboards, everything is moving together with the ship. There is no experiment you can perform inside the ship that detects its motion. Only by looking out and seeing the shore passing by do you know the ship moves. The same applies to Earth. We, the atmosphere, the clouds, the birds, every stone and tree, all spinning together at 1,000 miles per hour. There's no internal experiment that detects it. The air moves with us because it's part of the same system. A bird flying west isn't fighting the rotation because the air through which it flies is also rotating. But wait, there is a way to tell the Earth moves. Look up. In 1610, I pointed my telescope at Venus. Over the course of several months, I watched Venus show phases just like the moon. Crescent Venus, half Venus, gibbous Venus, full Venus. This should be impossible if everything orbits the Earth. Think about it. If Venus orbits the Earth, traveling in a circle between us and the Sun, then Venus's sunlit side would always face away from us. We'd only ever see Venus as a crescent. The backside would always be dark, but I saw full Venus. That means Venus was on the opposite side of the Sun from Earth. Fully illuminated from our perspective, the only way that's possible is if Venus orbits the Sun, not the Earth. Then I watched Jupiter. 4 moons, clear as anything, orbiting Jupiter, not orbiting Earth, not orbiting anything else. Orbiting Jupiter. Not everything orbits the Earth. Some things orbit other things. The geocentric model was dead. The observations killed it. But here's the disturbing part nobody talks about. The stars still appear to move. Venus orbits the Sun, proven. But the stars, they still wheel across the sky every single night, east to west, in perfect arcs. So what's actually moving? Not the stars. They're too far away. If the stars were actually orbiting Earth once per day, the distant ones would have to be moving at impossible speeds, faster than light if they're far enough out. That can't be. The answer is the ground beneath your feet is rotating. Stand still right now. You think you're motionless? You're not. If you're at the equator, your body is moving eastward at 1,042 miles per hour. The Earth completes one full rotation every 24 hours. The diameter of Earth at the equator is about 25,000 miles. The circumference is 25,000 times pi, roughly 78 on 500 miles. Divide that by 24 hours. You get about 1,040 miles per hour. You don't feel this motion for the same reason you don't feel motion on the ship. Everything, the air, the ground, your body, the oceans, the clouds, rotates together. There's no relative motion between you and your immediate surroundings. So there's nothing to feel. You're in a rotating reference frame, and all your experiments are performed within that frame. The stars appear to move because we are rotating underneath them. The heavens are fixed. The Earth spins. We're standing on a rotating platform, looking up at a stationary sky and interpreting the relative motion backward. Let me prove it to you. Suspend a heavy pendulum from a very tall ceiling. Set it swinging in a perfectly straight line. Now watch it for several hours. Slowly, gradually, the plane of the pendulum swing rotates. It traces out a circle on the floor as the hours pass. But think about the forces acting on the pendulum. Gravity pulls straight down. The string tension pulls straight up along the string. There's no sideways force pushing the pendulum to rotate its swing. Nothing is making it turn. And yet the swing plane rotates. The pendulum is not rotating. The floor is rotating beneath it. At the North Pole, the pendulum's swing plane makes one complete rotation in exactly 24 hours, matching Earth's rotation. At the equator, there's no rotation of the swing plane at all because the axis of Earth's rotation is perpendicular to the plane of the swing. At intermediate latitudes like Paris, the rotation takes longer, about 32 hours for one full turn. The pendulum keeps swinging in the same direction in space. The building, the floor, the people watching, they're all rotating. From their perspective, fixed to the rotating Earth, the pendulum appears to precess. From the pendulum's perspective, if it had one, it's swinging perfectly still, and the world is turning beneath it. This experiment was done in 1851 by Léon Foucault, more than 200 years after my death. But it proves the point directly. The Earth rotates, so the stars are fixed, and the Earth is spinning. But that's not the end of the strangeness. The Earth is also orbiting the Sun. We travel roughly 584 million miles around the Sun each year. That's 600 miles per hour in our orbit. The Sun is also moving. The Sun orbits the center of our galaxy at about 450,000 miles per hour, carrying the Earth and all the planets with it. The galaxy itself is moving through the cosmos, pulled by gravity, toward the Virgo cluster, at roughly 1.3 million miles per hour. You, standing still, are moving well over 1 million miles per hour through space, in multiple directions simultaneously, through a space that is itself expanding. The word still is meaningless. Motion only has meaning relative to something else. The ship relative to the shore, moving. You relative to the ground, still. The ground relative to the sun, moving at 1,000 miles per hour. The sun relative to the galaxy, moving at 450,000 miles per hour. The galaxy relative to distant galaxies, moving over 1 million miles per hour. There is no absolute motion. There is no absolute stillness. There is only relative motion between objects. You choose your reference point, and motion is defined by that choice. Choose the Earth as your reference. The stars move. Choose the stars as your reference. The Earth moves. Both descriptions are true. Both are false. It depends entirely on your perspective. This broke something fundamental in how humans thought about the world. For thousands of years, we believed the Earth was the center, unmoving, fixed, special. The heavens rotated around us. The sun rose for us. The stars wheeled above us. We were the point around which everything else turned. I looked through a telescope and saw the truth. We're a spinning rock orbiting an ordinary star. We're not the center. We're not special. We're not still. We're moving through space at impossible speeds, and the only reason we don't notice is because everything moves together. The church tried me for heresy in 1633, forced me to recant, threatened me with torture if I didn't publicly deny what I'd observed. I recanted. I said the Earth didn't move. The phrase, "eper si move," and yet it moves, probably wasn't said by me at my trial. That's likely a later embellishment. But the sentiment is true. Evidence doesn't care. What you believe, what you see with your eyes, the stars moving across the sky, isn't what's actually happening. Your senses lie to you about motion. Your intuition is wrong. You have to look carefully. You have to measure. You have to think about what the measurements mean. So let's come back to where we started. Stars wheeling across the night sky. What's moving? Nothing is moving the way you think. The stars are fixed, at least relative to each other, at least over human timescales. Some are moving toward us, some away, but those motions are tiny compared to their distances. For our purposes tonight, they're still. The Earth is spinning, 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, slower as you move toward the poles, 0 at the poles themselves. The Earth is also orbiting the Sun at 66,000 miles per hour. The Sun is orbiting the galactic center at 450,000 miles per hour. All of it nested, all of it simultaneous. You're moving with the Earth. You feel nothing because there's no relative motion between you and your immediate surroundings. Moving only means something when compared to a reference point. There's no universal frame of absolute rest. Motion is relative, not absolute. And that's what the observations force you to conclude. The night sky hasn't changed. What's changed is understanding what the word moving means. Most people still say the sun rises. It's convenient language, but it's wrong physics. The sun doesn't rise. The Earth rotates, carrying you eastward until the sun comes into view over the horizon. The stars don't move across the sky. You rotate beneath them. But next question. Why does the Earth rotate at all? What started the spin? Why 24 hours and not 12 or 48? That's about how planets form, about angular momentum conservation, about the collapse of the solar nebula 4.5 billion years ago. Different story, deeper question. I measured what moves. I proved the Earth rotates and orbits. I showed that Venus orbits the Sun, that Jupiter has its own moons, that the geocentric universe is wrong, why it moves, why things orbit, what gravity actually is, how the mathematics of force and motion work. That's for Isaac Newton to explain. He'll do it better than I can. He'll show that the same force that makes an apple fall makes the moon orbit Earth and the Earth orbit the sun. Universal gravitation. The same laws everywhere. I'll leave that to him. Eppur si muove. And yet it moves.